What's happening, world? So, yeah, I just came back to talk. I got a little shit on my mind I want to get off. And really, it's about this whole word black and white. You feel me? Um, just was watching a little video on YouTube about the Census Bureau where they're going to start asking the question, are you a U.S. citizen? And on that point of being a U.S. citizen, it's kind of hard for a natural living person to be a citizen of a corporation. The United States of America is a corporation registered in the District of Columbia. All corporations have presidents. So I'm trying to get people to wake up to this game that's been pulled over on us by the people that are currently in control of the indigenous people's lands and what they call themselves. Um, Black and white, like I've stated before, are adjectives. Adjectives describe things. Nouns are person, place, places, or things. Like Egyptians come from Egypt, Japanese people come from Japan, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And I don't know. You know, I've only been here since 1980, but I don't know where this title of black came from and why we choose to continuously label ourselves as black. You know what I mean? I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk about in regards to black and white. You know what I mean? Really, really, I do. Um, but I know for a fact that I myself, my children, my wife, my parents, my siblings, we are not black people. We identified falsely as black people because we've been so miseducated in this country. And that's another big, thing that's hard for people to get past, especially people with degrees, is feeling as though, we're completely educated in its fullness. You know what I mean? And not understanding that the United States has been working diligently in order to keep the indigenous autochthonous people concealed from the world. You know what I mean? But the more that I learn about nationality, the more I start to recognize that other people know exactly who we are as a people. You know what I mean? I don't really want to get too deep into the nationality point right now, even though I will Islam wars. You know what I'm talking about? I really want to try to find a way to focus on getting people to understand that there is no such thing as black people. There is no such thing as white people. Black and white is a social construct. I'm not black. My hoodie is black. I've never seen anybody the same color as the pigment in this Nike uh, brand. You know what I'm saying? There is no black people. There are no white people. You feel me? Like, you have the indigenous, autochthonous, national people, which is the Moors, which is who we are. There is no such thing as black people. So if you get on the note of black people, and we've already gone over the English portion of an adjective versus a noun, the next thing to go into would be uh, understanding that black is only but a slave status in this country. So I don't want to do a whole lot of pulling people's information from online and showing, because I don't want any of my videos to get flagged. I'm just using this as a platform to get my point across, I guess, for future review of self. But when you look up the Dred Scott versus the Supreme Court, you will come to find out that black people are but only slaves in this corporate construct called U.S.A. And there are no such thing as black people. You have people with different hues of melanin, and then you have people with different forms of albinism. So you have your oculotaneous albinism 1, 2, and 3. So even within this disillusioned reality of black people, you have this thing where we're in our community, we say light skin, dark skin, without explaining to our lighter skin counterparts, brothers and sisters, that they suffer, and I don't mean suffer in a negative way, and maybe I shouldn't even use word, that they have oculotaneous albinism, whether 1, 2, or 3. That's the only way you're gonna come up with light skin. There is no such thing as black people. There's no such thing as white. There's no such thing as light skin. There's no such thing as dark skin. I mean, these things happen, but for you to call yourself this as though it's a part of a nation is not real. It's just not. There are no black people. There are no white people. You know what I mean? And I'm really trying to figure out the best way to get people to conceptualize that we aren't black. You know what I mean? But you're going to continuously have movies that keep putting people in a psychological mind state to believe that one could be black or that one could be white. And there's no way. It's impossible for me to be black with my brown hue, melanin in my skin, and for me to even turn and decide to call another human being a white person. It's impossible. These things don't exist. There are no such thing as black people. There are no such thing as white people. But what's going to have to happen in this country, Almaroc, which people like to call America, is eventually the indigenous, autochthonous people are going to have to wake up to who we are. And the longer that the rest of the world continues to perpetuate this black society, white society, it's just going to make things worse when people actually decide to wake up and learn about nationality. And the reason why I say this is because living in a lot of impoverished areas, you will come to find out that the people who would call themselves black or live in the ghetto don't understand that the people running the stores and the businesses in their neighborhood understand nationality, fully understand nationality. And we're the only people on the earth who don't get these national principles because we've been told or allowed to believe that we are a black people. You know what I mean? Where do black people come from? You know what I mean? So when you start looking into Trump's current stance on deportation of people, then you have to ask yourself, well, how many people from quote unquote, for lack of better terms, black countries are allowed to come into the U.S. A. U.S.A. You know what I mean? And how many people have been deported back to their homes? Not just talking about the people that they call Mexicans, but how many other people around the world have been deported as well. So even on that note, if we were slaves at one time, quote unquote, black people were slaves at one time, why haven't we been deported? Why are we some of the only people here who are non-deportable? It's because this is where we're from, and you can't send us somewhere that we aren't from. The only way you can get us to leave is to do it voluntary, just like voluntary calling oneself black or voluntary calling oneself white. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy that so many people have degrees in English and can't comprehend the parts of speech between an adjective and a noun, or even to have a doctoral degree in English and still call oneself black or white. It's crazy. I have no understanding for why this goes on, but this is something that's happening. The Dred Scott versus the Supreme Court is a good thing for people to look up to truly understand that we've been colonized. You know what I mean? There's no sense in calling our European counterpart, who most people think run the country, white. There's no reason to. Because, like I said, these same people who call themselves white or Americans on other days have no problem with telling you exactly where in Europe that their friends or not friends, but family has come from. You know what I mean? And this is not a push to be angry. I have no reason to be angry at anybody. But if you don't talk about the facts, then everything gets jaded over. You know what I mean? And my thing is I don't want to continue to keep playing this social construct game of black and white. Like, listen, I'm the autochthonous and indigenous people of the Americas. So even when you start digging deeper, you will come to find out that the Americas in its entirety, from Alaska all the way down to the bottom, tippy bottom of South America, that the total landmass of the Americas is like I don't know, 11, 16 square million miles, and the continent of Africa is only like 11. So when it comes to total size, you can see how a lot of things, have been jaded and just left there for people to try to find the answer if you so choose to. But the biggest thing is there is no black people, there is no white people. You feel me? And if we were black people, then guess what? We would have got deported or sent to some other people's country from the jump. You know what I mean? And it's not going to happen. You can't just make people do stuff, you know what I mean, without a valid reason or a point. You feel me? So I'm going to continue. I need to get more polished in my presentations, because I'm really not proving a point. It's not a point to be proven. It's just me speaking on there being no black people, there being no white people. You know what I mean? You have the autochthonous indigenous people. So if you look up the 1828 Webster's Dictionary and you look up the definition of American, it'll tell you that it was applied to the copper color races, later applied to the descendants of Europeans. You understand? So, and I know, because like I said, I've had conversations with people who would consider themselves white, and after having, methodical intellectual conversations about what black is, what white is, what indigenous is, who is this Christopher Columbus guy, and all these other things, I come to find that a lot of my European counterparts will say, well, damn, why do you understand this and the rest of your people don't get it? You know what I mean? It's because we've been miseducated and we still haven't addressed the point. And what has happened is our people have been given this false label of racism in black and white. And there is no such thing as racism. There is no such thing as black and white. There isn't. You have colonizers. We've been colonized, and we are prisoners of war still to this day. Every last one of us, for quote unquote lack of better terms, black people have European last names, and no one looks at it as though it's a weird thing. We just say, oh, okay, let's just keep on going with it. And it's crazy. So I really need to write down some points so I can stick to this, because I'm going to try to do this on a daily, so that way if there is people who can remotely understand some of the things that I'm saying, then let's have open dialogue. Let's talk about this and see where we can get to. You know what I'm saying? Let's see if we can have a better understanding for who we are and how we can fix this, so that way when people wake up to the truth, there isn't a bunch of craziness going on. You know what I'm saying? So Islam Moors, you feel me? Peace, love, and blessings to all. You know what I mean? I wish you the best. You know what I mean? My point is not to be offensive or hurt people's feelings. It's just to try to have a better understanding. People don't have to watch my videos. These reviews are most certainly for me to go back, in time and see. And if I'm ever wrong about something, I have no problem with correcting myself, apologizing, standing on my square the right way. But for the time being, the most important point is to get melanated people who call themselves black to stop calling themselves black. And let's study, so that way we can understand the principles of nationality, so we can be responsible for self. Peace.